It was never a question in my mind whether or not extraterrestrials existed. With an estimated number of 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone, how could there not be other intelligent life forms out there? Who are these extraterrestrial beings who have visited our lonely planet, and what messages do they bring? Are they here for our benefit? Are they here to share their experiences and knowledge as a more intelligent and evolved race? Can the teachings of law of attraction be traced back to ancient extraterrestrial beings? The topic of extraterrestrials has been a huge area of interest in my life ever since I was young. As a child, I never felt like I belonged on this planet. I've always felt a sense of not fitting in with society, societal practices, people, even family and friends at times. This grew even stronger as I got older. I got along with people on a surface level, but I always felt something was missing. The mundane conversations that people like to have were always so, well, mundane. Things people would talk about in conversation sometimes just baffled me. I've always felt a strong urge to go home. I never knew where home was, but I knew that it was not Earth. Having suffered from sleep paralysis ever since middle school, I've had many strange experiences during my sleep, where I would be visited by different entities, some earthbound and dark, but also others which I just intuitively knew were from the stars and from the light. I felt a very strong connection with them. It was then, around 2009 or so, that I started to do my research on extraterrestrial races, and what I found truly amazed me. There are a good number of ETs that have visited our planet. Some negative, such as the Anunnaki, Reptilians, and Orions. But most of them are actually benevolent and here to help elevate human consciousness. The benevolent ETs teach us to stay present, to be the observer, to raise our vibration, and to choose love as our dominant emotion. They tell us that everything is one and everything is connected. These are all the same concepts that the most evolved spiritual teachers on our planet teach. I saw words like 4D and 5D, awakening. These are all words that I had seen on ET websites and the internet, so I started to go even deeper into finding content, listening to audiobooks and watching videos on the internet. My strong intuitive connection that I felt to being a soul that had not originated from planet Earth grew into a knowingness that I was in fact a starseed, a soul who had been birthed in the heavens from an extraterrestrial origin. In fact, if you are drawn to this video, you're most likely a starseed yourself. There are millions of us here on this planet at this time during this great transition of consciousness from third density to fourth and fifth density. We chose to incarnate here on Earth to serve a purpose, to help guide others from our intuitive knowing that would be fired by unique experiences and events in our lives, to trigger a memory of our higher dimensional consciousness, to remember that we are not just physical beings, that we are spirit first and foremost, and that we are the creators of our reality, generator of dimensions, and sovereign beings. This knowledge is what our benevolent ET family have come here to awaken in us, a remembrance of our divine selves. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 examples of how ETs share their knowledge of the law of attraction. The first ET race I would like to present are the Pleiadians. Many people who are fascinated with stories of extraterrestrials are familiar with the Pleiadians, and they are mostly depicted as blonde hair and blue eyes, with tall statures. However, they are not always represented by this physical form, and can project their physical appearance as they deem fit for whomever they are in contact with in order to make them feel more comfortable. Many people confuse them with Nordic ETs, and some refer to them as Pleiadians, such as one of the most well-known contactees, Billy Meyer. Pleiadians are mostly known as fifth-dimensional beings, but are also known to exist in the fourth and sixth densities. They exist in a parallel reality perceivable through our extrasensory awareness beyond the five senses. They are described as having light bodies and can appear as non-physical beings. The specifics of their origin and details of their experience can all be debated, but the most important thing I would like to share with you is their teaching of the law of attraction. This particular excerpt I will play you is from one of my favorite audiobooks, Bringers of the Dawn. The author, Barbara Marciniak, is a channeler of these beings in the higher realms of consciousness. Her book, Bringers of the Dawn, was written in the early 90s, and the events and situations she describes in her book are almost exactly mirrored in our current state of affairs on planet Earth almost 30 years later.
Light is definitely growing on the planet as you remember that you are the native species working closely with the original planners here to take back your world from the raiders. In order to survive in the times that are coming, it is imperative to move into the idea of thought manifestation or superconsciousness. There are those who are very aware that this movement of consciousness could begin to sweep the planet, and they are banking on it not occurring. It has already occurred. We have come back into your past to assure you of this. Thought comes first. Experience is always secondary. It is never the other way around, that you have the experience and then you base the thought around it. Always your experience is a direct reflection of what you are thinking. Clarity and recognition of your own power are the bottom line. Your thoughts form your world all of the time. Because you are bombarded with so many frequency control vibrations that attempt to keep you from being clear, you fluctuate. You must, as a species, make it your intention to stay very clear, to stay centered, and always to bring yourself into the moment. Stop living in the future or living in the past, and always live in your now. Say to yourself, what do I want? I want to accelerate my personal evolution. I want spirit to assist me in a greater capacity. I want my body to regenerate itself. I want to emanate health. I am willing to give up difficulty so that I can be a living example of what humanity can be.
The next race of ETs I would like to elaborate on are the Andromedans. Many people know the galaxy of Andromeda to be the closest galaxy to our own, the Milky Way. The Andromeda galaxy is a spiral galaxy approximately 2.5 million light years from Earth. Andromedans, like Pleiadians, are found in both fifth and sixth densities. They are usually depicted with blue or violet skin, but are also believed to have light bodies. They are here also to help us evolve our consciousness and to help us break free from our self-created prison, which has been imposed on us through psychological manipulation over thousands of Earth years. I have been following Alex Collier, who is the most well-known Andromedan contactee, since 2012. Alex spent 90 days on a fifth-density Andromedan ship, which he describes as being hundreds of miles long, in which he was in direct communication with the Andromedans. Since the late 80s, he has been carrying the message of the Andromedans to the people of Earth, to love, evolve, and to create a reality where we are completely responsible for our own sovereignty without the coercion of outside forces. Here is what he has to say about law of attraction.
The key to your happiness, Terrans, is in the hands of your own consciousness. We have perceived that you Terrans have arranged your lives not according to yourselves, but according to others. Your disappointments are due to this fact. Each one of you is a free soul, a free consciousness. No one is the servant or slave of anyone else, though the hidden ones would trick you to believe otherwise. Mutual respect is imperative for a healed planetary race. Help is being extended to you if you so want it, because of our genetic lineage to your races. We would like to be with you during your difficult times, and we are right on the edge of that. Today, you are a planet and a race that destroys itself in ignorance. Your goal is to uncover the genuine human beings lost deep within yourselves. Always be at one with yourself. We as a race are trying to express to your race, one of your original intentions in creating your physical reality is the idea of creating and learning to manipulate and express yourselves through physicality, using your consciousness. It is your consciousness that is the gift of the isness that the isness has given you, and in fact, all things that bear spirit. It is the gift that has been clouded, and most importantly, clouded by fear. This creation of fear is completely irrational to whom you all are. Fear, as we ourselves at one time as Lyran ancestors, sought to defend and legitimize withholding of love. We have come to understand that withholding love only creates perpetual disintegration. We have discovered in our home galaxy the ruins of vast races having achieved recognition that have ceased to exist. They destroyed themselves simply because they withheld love and drained the very life force out of their intent and imploded and destroyed their self-creation.
The Earth is a result of a combination of many different soul groups that are here experiencing a physical reality. We have such power in intention. It's an unfathomable energy, frequency, when you focus your intent on what it is that you really want. Now, the beautiful thing about really knowing what you want is that you've clarified it, you're focused on it, and you're emotionally engaged in the end result. And if you've ever read any of the ancient spiritual books, and that there's many of them that talk about this, when you're absolutely crystal clear about what you want and you put the emotion behind it of having already achieved it, it happens. If you stay with it, it happens. Being in control of your focus is remarkable. It's incredibly powerful. We have to learn to do that here. It could be that some of our ancestors in the distant past had that capability, but if you were to come in here and want to control and enslave a population, you would not teach them how to do that. In fact, you would want them to be scattered and unfocused, because then they'd be very easy to control and manipulate, okay, using mind techniques. But anyone who is grounded and focused on what they want and is intently and emotionally calling it forth, that person cannot be controlled or manipulated, because you know what you want. And you are experiencing the power of that spiritual energy and you calling forth that which you want.
The final group of ETs I'd like to introduce are the Blue Avians. Made known by Corey Good and David Wilcock through the popular show on Gaia, Cosmic Disclosure, the Blue Avians are also known as the Sphere Being Alliance. They carry a message of peace and hope for humanity and exist outside the boundaries of space and time. They are also here to help shift the consciousness of humankind for the good of all. They state that humans must help themselves by solving their own problems so they can reach Ascension. In human mythology, the blue avians can be seen depicted by various cultures in history as Ra, Thoth, Abgol, Eagle Kachina, and Garuda. As Andromedans and Pleiadians do, they communicate primarily through telepathy and often initiate contact with humans in dreams. Corey Good was in direct contact with a being named Ra Tier Air. The book The Law of One, The Raw Material, is a book that was delivered through channeling, written by Jim McCarty, Carla L. Ruckert, and Don Elkins. It is believed that the beings channeled in this book are the Blue Avians.
About Ra. In Earth's ancient history, Ra is known as the Egyptian god of the sun. They state, however, that when they visited the Egyptians, they came as brothers and sisters, not as gods. They came because that civilization had developed a culture and a belief system that prepared them to comprehend the concepts of the Law of One. This readiness for the Law of One drew those of Ra to them to serve as teachers of these principles. Ra reports that their efforts to aid that particular culture were misunderstood and distorted. The Egyptians, particularly the royal elite who reserved the message only for themselves, robbed the message of its inherent compassion, distorting the philosophy of the oneness of all things. Ra consequently removed themselves from the Egyptian experience. They continued from then until now to observe Earth's development from a distance. It was Ra's long-standing desire to correct the distortions introduced to the Law of One during that time period that led them to make contact with our group. But that was not their only reason. Ra also made contact with our group because Earth is nearing the end of a 75,000-year master cycle of evolution, and many of its population are ready to graduate to the next evolutionary stage, what Ra calls the fourth density, the density of love and understanding. They wished to be of aid in this time of transition, and thus responded to the call for service issuing forth from this planet. Ra said that they are from the sixth density, and they are, in their words, a social memory complex. This is what a planetary population becomes in the densities of evolution beyond our own. In this arrangement, of every individual are known and available to the whole group. The entire social body, then, consists of many unique individuals who also have access to a shared group repository of memory and identity.
I have not had a chance to fully listen to the audio version of The Law of One yet, but resonate greatly with what I have heard so far. The website, lawofone.info, which is basically an online version of the entire recorded channeling, allows you to search for words which returns parts of the transcribed text related to the word typed into the search bar. Here are some excerpts that were returned when I typed in the word thought. Be aware that some of the language, vocabulary, and syntax throughout the book are sometimes not easily understood, as beings from a sixth density consciousness sometimes have difficulty explaining things in 3D. This first question is related to the building of the Egyptian pyramids. Questioner: I am reminded of the statement, approximately, if you had enough faith, you could say to a mountain to move, and the mountain would move. I assume this is approximately what you are saying, and I am assuming that if you are fully aware of the Law of One, then you are able to do these things. Is that correct? I am Ra. The vibratory distortion of sound, faith, is perhaps one of the stumbling blocks between those of what we may call the infinite path and those of the finite proving understanding. You are precisely correct in your understanding of the congruency of faith and intelligent infinity. However, one is a spiritual term, the other more acceptable perhaps to the conceptual framework distortions of those who seek with measure and pen. Questioner: then, if an individual is totally informed with respect to the Law of One, and lives and is the Law of One, such things as the building of a pyramid by direct mental effort would be commonplace. Is that what I am to understand? Am I correct? I am Ra. You are incorrect in that there is a distinction between the individual power, through the law of one, and the combined or societal memory complex mind, body, spirit understanding of the law of one. In the first case, only the one individual, purified of all flaws, could move a mountain. In the case of mass understanding of unity, each individual may contain an acceptable amount of distortion, and yet the mass mind could move mountains. The progress is normally from the understanding which you now seek to a dimension of understanding which is governed by the laws of love and which seeks the laws of light. Those who are vibrating with the law of light seek the law of one. Those who vibrate with the law of one seek the law of foreverness. Questioner: does what we do when we think of possibilities that can occur, say daydreaming, do these become real in these densities? I am Ra. This depends upon the nature of the daydream. This is a large subject. Perhaps the simplest thing we can say is, if the daydream, as you call it, is one which attracts to self, this then becomes reality to self. If it is contemplative general daydream, this may enter the infinity of possibility, probability complexes, and occur elsewhere, having no particular attachment to the energy fields of the Creator. Questioner: to make this a little more clear, if I were to daydream strongly about building a ship, would this occur in one of these other densities? I am Ra. This would have, or shall occur. Questioner: and then if, say, an entity daydreams strongly about battling, let us say another entity, would this occur? I am Ra. In this case, the entity's fantasy concerns the self and others' self. This binds the thought form to the possibility-probability complex connected with the self, which is the creator of this thought form. This then would increase the possibility-probability of bringing this into third density occurrence. It is obvious that our extraterrestrial cousins are here to help us evolve. No matter what part of the galaxy or universe they are from, they seem to know a secret that humans had long forgotten. A secret that holds the key to not only our survival, but to a world that is blessed with harmony, love, joy, fulfillment, peace, and evolution. It is very likely that our religions have been passed down to us through these celestial beings to help guide us towards a truth that we must remember. A truth that is inside each and every human soul, the missing piece to the puzzle, and the key to our freedom.